Hi everyone, it's Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. I so appreciate you being here. If you are new, welcome. I hope you enjoy this episode that I've put together this month. And if you're a returning subscriber, I really appreciate your support. As you all know, Tea with Me is a chat video that I put on every month where I try to talk about just something creative in my paper vintage art world. I like to recommend books or products going on, and I like to sort of go behind the scenes or delve deeper into something I've found along the way in my estate sale or flea market finds, or maybe a project I'm working on. So in April today, this month's edition is all about estate sales, which are really near and dear to my heart. And my goal today is to, number one, show you the types of things that you can find at estate sales. Now, I realize that estate sales are a very American thing, and that people watching from around the world don't necessarily have them. But I do know there are similar types of sales, maybe not as big, not the entire estate being sold, but there are rummage sales, charity shops, boot sales in other parts of the world. And it may be possible that you can find a lot of the similar things that I'm going to show you today, and it might get your head working about how you can use them in your own life. I also have a really special behind the scenes look at an estate sale. I've of course made friends with people that run estate sales, and one in particular, hi Denise, a very dear friend to me. And through all of this COVID kind of craziness in my teaching, not really being consistent and not being able to really happen, I've been looking at other options. And since I love estate sales so much, Denise was wonderful enough to take me on and sort of let me go behind the scenes and sort of volunteer at some of her recent sales so I could sort of learn the business. So I have the inside scoop for you. And I don't know where that will lead, but if nothing else, it's really brought a whole new dimension to what I look at as taking discarded items and giving them a second life and passing them on in their journey. So today we're going to look at things that I've purchased from estate sales. I'm going to give you tips on how to find estate sales and how to make them successful. And then I'm going to take you behind the scenes at an actual estate sale that's happening today. And I think it's going to be fun. So I'm glad you're here. I'm going to start with my usual Tea with Me tea recommendation, or my, what am I drinking today? And I'm drinking Lady Grey black tea, which was given to me by one of my favorite Jersey girls, Deborah. And I actually added, well, I would say milk to make it more English, but it's really not milk, it's soy milk. And as I talk, I'm going to flip through a book that I recently acquired at an estate sale, because I think it's probably pretty boring to hear me talk and look at nothing. So I'm going to take a sip of tea and then move it to the side. So this big, beautiful book was a recent acquisition of mine. I'm going to open my shade just a little bit more so we have a little bit more natural light. It's tricky because the sun comes in so bright here. I think that'll work. So this book is highly embellished, and it's Stanley's story through the wilds of Africa. And I believe it was written in the late 1800s. It has seen better days, but look at the beautiful end papers. It's certainly, it's not attached to its book anymore, which is sad, but that's okay. I'll either repair it or use it, but I'll probably repair it because of its age. And look at the back. Look at how big that binding is with the monkeys. It's just really cool. So this book, I'm just going to do a couple more minutes on the book and then we'll get right to the estate sales. This book has beautiful writing in the front, which I love to look for. And it's all about H.M. Stanley trips through the dark continent, southern and central Africa. And it was published, let's see if I can find a date, in 1890. The engravings in this book, as well as the printed matter, are fully protected by copyright. Blah, 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 blah. Dedicated to brave and faithful followers. Okay, so what's so cool about this book is there are some amazing engravings that hopefully I will hit as we are chatting. So, estate sales, what are they? Well, if you're not from the United States, estate sales used to be, people thought of them as when somebody passed away and they needed to liquidate their estate. And the word estate has this sort of very fancy, people think because it says estate, it's fancy houses with fancy things. And that is not always the case. In fact, a lot of times it's just people like you and me that are liquidating the house. In today's age, estate sales are so much more than what people used to think of them for. Estate sales can be because someone's downsizing, they're, maybe getting close to retirement and they want a smaller home and they've accumulated a lifetime of things from having kids and they just want the basics. They don't want to have all the things that they have carried with them their whole life. Sometimes it's a moving sale. People are moving and it costs so much to move that it's easier to sell things and buy new on the other end. We're in an age of disposability, so you can get things at retailers now inexpensively. It's not like it used to be. So, a lot of people are doing it because they're moving. So there's moving sales, there's downsizing sales, and then there's, that's a very, very bright and colorful engraving. There's really beautiful engravings in here. Then, of course, there is the typical somebody passes away and their family needs to liquidate their estate. And, people come to estate sales and they want to ask the people working it, oh, what's the deal? Is it a downsizing? Is it a divorce? Is it a moving? Is it somebody passed away? It really doesn't matter. I think that's one of the questions that we should all try not to ask at an estate sale. These are items that people loved. That's the difference between a yard sale. A yard sale is when people are done with their stuff and they just want to get rid of it. They don't love it anymore. They just want to get rid of it. Most of the time in estate sales, people love their a Zulu warrior. Beautiful engraving. A lot of people still love their items. They just can't take them with them. If it's a downsizing, they just have to be able to let go of some things. If it's a situation where someone's passed away, they've probably loved those items till the time they passed away, and their children just can't take on all those items. They have their own items. So I honestly love going to estate sales where a family is running it because their loved one is no longer with them. And there's all these stories in the house. There's usually really great energy in the house. And there's nothing I love more than finding something that I can tell was loved and cherished and moving it on to its next home, which is mine. Or if I'm gifting it to someone, to their home. I especially love going to estate sales of artists. Even artists that have passed away. I love having items that have their energy on it. I like to use their artwork in my artwork and carry on that tradition. I love finding old letters and making those letters part of new work. I feel like it keeps people alive. It keeps their spirit alive. So when you go to an estate sale, don't ask what the situation is because it's really mute. It's not really even important what the situation is. The other thing at estate sales is always come with cash. People don't generally take any kind of checks, and even electronic payment is frowned upon because then the estate sale company has to pay fees. Look at this beautiful tiger. So cash is king at an estate sale. Oops. So definitely bring your cash and lots of it. Sometimes an estate sale, if you have more than what you think you have, sometimes an estate sale will let you put down a deposit and you can have it be put on hold while you get things. Estate sales are more expensive than yard sales, but that's where you get choice pieces of furniture. So if you're starting out as a young couple, or you have a new apartment, and you could go to IKEA and spend $250 on a piece of furniture that you put together with a screwdriver and is essentially disposable furniture. It's only going to last you 5 or 10 years. Or you can go to an estate sale and get a piece of all wood furniture with dovetail corners and beautiful details on it that was handmade in an artisan fashion for similar price. And it's going to last you a lifetime, or it's going to last you decades. And it's also going to have a story behind it, probably a patina behind it, and a little bit of just wear and tear, but, you know, beautiful wear and tear. You know, a lot of these things are pristine depending on what it is. The estate sale today, I'm going to, they have a lot of Ethan Allen furniture that look like from a showroom. So even if you were getting a dining room set for $600 or $800, that's way far less than what you're going to get if you go to a showroom. So, you know, estate sales are full of all sorts of things. They're full of big things like furniture. They're full of small things like collectibles. And every home has a lot of the same things, in the sense that as junk journalers and paper people, we can always count on certain items. And I'm going to show you some examples of those today. And I think you can't discount an estate sale till you go, because really there's so many things there that probably aren't even posted you can find. Look at this beautiful colored print. I'm not sure the subject matter is a subject matter that I like, hunting, or based on the age and the fact it's in Africa. I'll have to look more into this book, but I don't know exactly what the war is they're fighting and things like this, but it's probably not my cup of tea as far as subject matter, but the book itself is beautiful. So going on to estate sales, don't ask what the situation is. Bring cash. Look for those really nice items that are better than what you can buy in the store today. Be ready. Bring bags, bring boxes, bring help if you're going for big things. There's not always boxes there to put things in, and if you have bags, it makes it easier for smalls. A lot of estate sales will allow you to make a pile so that you can keep adding to the pile as you're shopping, and you don't have to carry it around the whole time. And then be prepared to be able to carry it out and take it away that day. They usually aren't going to let you come back the next week. So those are a few of my tips. Let me see if there's anything else that I can think of. Oh, if you have an estate, if you go pre-plan, I will put links below to the 2 biggest estate sale websites that we have in the United States. You can plug in your area and how far you're willing to drive, and all the estate sale companies will put photo albums, and you can preview the items that are going to be there, which is really exciting, because then you can choose what you want. You can choose the things that you want to try to get there for. Get there early. If it's something you want, you need to be first in line or close to it. So pay attention to that. And if you come with your own masking tape and Sharpie, you can take a piece of tape, write your last name and write sold, and put it right on the object as you're going through. And then people know it's yours and you can keep on shopping. I have witnessed people that are expert estate sale shoppers come with pre-made tags, and they already know the things they're going for, and they just make a beeline for them. They put their masking tape with their name on it, and they put sold. Now, if you do that, be prepared to not to try to talk down the price on that. If you're first in line and there's an item that's, let's say, $75 and you put sold on it, then you're going to pay $75 for it. Now, if that item that you came for is on the last day at the last hour, you can probably get a bargain and you can negotiate on that price. But negotiations in the first couple of hours probably are not going to take place on anything that's big or valuable. That's the other thing about estate sales. Negotiate the price. Again, you can't really negotiate the price at the beginning unless it's on things that aren't usually that sellable. Those kinds of bulk items you can negotiate. And let me tell you, a lot of the things we paper people look for are negotiable, because they are things that are hard to get rid of, like paper and maybe damaged books and maybe old linens that aren't in the perfect condition. A lot of the things that we like that are tatty are hard for them to sell. So those things can be negotiated, and you can get a discount on. And usually estate sale companies will give you a discount based on how much you buy. So the more you buy, usually you get a bigger discount. Just beautiful, beautiful lithos. Colorful, colorful lithos. So yes, definitely in negotiating prices. And if you go on the last couple hours of a sale, that's when you're going to get the best buys. But you also have to kind of leave it up to fate that those items you want are still going to be there. You take a risk if you go at the end that there won't be much left. But I find that we can always find things with paper close to the end. So, you know, never feel like if it's a 2-day sale and you can only go the last 2 hours of the 2 days, there isn't going to be anything left, because oftentimes there is. So basically, just as a recap, bring cash, go early, bring your own bags, be ready to carry your own things, bring your own tags if there's something specific that you want, be ready to negotiate, but fairly, and not right at the beginning, and don't ask what the situation is. It's just, you know, that's something that the estate sale company doesn't really want to talk about. And always remember, as much as we want a good buy, the estate sale company is not there for us. The estate sale company is there representing the family of someone who's passed, or the family of someone who's going through transition. So we always have to be respectful and remember that that's who they're representing, and this is somebody's home, so we need to be respectful when we're in it, and respectful to the company. So those are my tips. I hope that they were helpful to you. And if you're not in the United States and you don't have estate sales, I would really love to hear in the comments the type of sales you do have and whether or not you can negotiate and what kinds of things you find. So now that our book is wrapping up, I am going to give you a little tour of some of the things I've bought at estate sales and how I've used them. So number one for me at estate sales, and anyone who knows me will agree, is books. I love books. I especially love old books with beautiful covers, and I use them as decorations around my whole house. I love beautiful spines, and I think they look nice on a table, they look nice on a mantle, they look nice on a bookshelf. And I really do use old books as one of my main pieces of decoration in the house. As I go to more and more estate sales and find older books with more decorative spines and covers, I replace maybe books that I had that were not as exciting and replace them with nicer books. You can see in this picture the Burgess Bird book. I'm a big fan of Thornton Burgess books. I also like to take books and make little vignettes, especially under glass. Glass cloches like this are great places to put the smaller books, and I just find that they have a really cool feel to them. I'm also a big fan of buying old tins for decorating, and I use those on shelves a lot. Old cameras are great things to decorate with as well, and you'll see at the top there on my kitchen, I have an old scale that doesn't work anymore, but I think it's great with the reds on my shelf. This is an old Bible with some little doodads I've found at flea markets and estate sales, and I just love having things like this. I find they're interesting. I love these teeny tiny tins, the medical tins. I just so much rather decorate my house with items that came from the past than going to like a Home Goods and just grabbing what everybody else has in their house. Again, on my mantle, I have old books. The bottom one is a vintage seed catalog. This one has an exposed spine. It lost its spine, but old books sometimes use paper, and I love that I can see the bicycle paper through there. And even though I'm not a big collectibles person, I love bluebirds. I get a lot at my home, and I found this at a flea market, and it's very typical of what you'll find at an estate sale. This is my most recent and most exciting acquisition. It is a vintage foraging basket. People use them to collect all sorts of things in the woods. They even call them hunting baskets, and you can buy them new, but I love the fact that this one was from this area. It was at a home that I know this is probably a 50 or 75-year-old basket. It's got a beautiful patina. It was well used and well loved, and I love it in my home. This bookshelf is up near my workroom, and it's full of books that I use in my junk journaling, either for inspiration or to cut up. And again, I believe probably 75% of the books that you'll see came from estate sales. And if you follow me, you'll know that originally this little area was my nest where I used to create before my son moved out, and now it's my little yoga studio. And then this card catalog I found last year at an estate sale for an artist, and it's become one of my favorite pieces. I spent $50 on this at the end of the sale. It was a complete bargain, and I store so many things that I use in these little drawers, and I love how I can tuck them away and open the drawers and look at the things that I need, and they're right there for me on hand. And I'm a big sucker for card catalogs. These Fisker eyelet setters were something I found recently at a estate sale as well. And I have found all of these things I'm showing you right now at estate sales, because a lot of people papercraft, a lot of people scrapbook, and you would be amazed at the supplies that are waiting for you to find them. I have found brads, I have found paper clips, all sorts of great things that I use in my paper crafting. And on the top of here is a vintage typewriter that I found, as well as all of these books on papercraft and journaling. 75% of them I have found at artists' estate sales. So again, it's not just old things. It's things that you can use in your everyday life right now. So now as we walk into my workroom, I'll show you some things that I have found at estate sales mostly that are very common to find. So tins are a very normal thing to find at estate sales, and a lot of times I'll find tins in the men's workshops or down in basements. Right here's a porcelain-like medical dish. A lot of times there's nuts and bolts and screws in them, and I'll buy them, and then I'll get rid of the nuts and the screws, and then I'll keep them for organization. And I love how graphic they are. I love the colors. They're just fun little storage, and I'm not a matchy-matchy person, so as you can tell. And here's my tin full of ink pads, and I'm going to tell you, I have bought some of my bigger ink pads at estate sales. I found them at some artist estate sales. I found some scrapbooking watermark ink pads from other crafters who maybe had estate sales, and they had a lot of scrapbooking type of things. So you can find paper goods there as well. And then I have them stored in this really clever idea. I was in a men's workshop, and he had taken bread pans and painted them all green and stenciled numbers on them for the size of his screws. And I just thought that was so clever, I had to get one of them. This is the bottom of a cash register drawer, like, where there's change and, money. And it's just a great little organizer for doodads. Here's another little drawer. I think this is probably for like a jeweler or a watchmaker's type of thing, because it has these sort of like, I don't know, these staggered edges in them that you can sort of display things in. It could even have been a mechanic's drawer, but they're perfect for my little stamp pads. And then I got this piece, please excuse my thumb. It's sort of like an antique shop, and it's either, I think it was like an organizational piece in like a machinist shop for tools, or it could have been, you know, a type tray, but it's an interesting shape. And then I have my horsehair workshop brush that I got out of a basement, out of a wood shop. And one of my favorite things to use is drawers, old drawers that have been discarded. And I find these a lot free at estate sales because people don't want them, and I use them as shelving. I turn them upside down and I make them into cubbies, and I stack things on top of them and inside of them, and I just love them. Everything on my work desk here is a crate or a drawer that has been turned on its end, and I use it for all my organization. And if you've watched my channel or my Instagram, you'll see me add these pieces as I go to estate sales. This particular drawer with the paper you just passed, I found at an estate sale. And the desk was completely demolished. I opened the drawer and I loved the organization in the drawer. I asked them if I could have it, and they said, sure, we're not going to do anything with it. And I love how I have paper in there. You can see that I love to get old tins. This one here is an old peanut butter jar or peanut butter can, and I have my pens and pencils in it. I have some more vintage tins, some wallpaper, and buttons. You can get buttons almost at every estate sale. There's certain things you can count on, and you can almost always find some sewing notions. You can always find buttons. You can always find books. You can almost always find books. And, I'll find little things like this little porcelain teacup, and I just think they look really cute in my workspace. They inspire me. But I would so much rather have these kinds of little things that I find at estate sales than things from stores that I can buy today. I also like going into the kitchen section of estate sales and looking for old vintage serving dishes because they make terrific organizers when I'm working on projects. Let's say I'm doing some kind of scrap project. I can put all my little bits and pieces in there and then have them sorted as I work. As we move into my desk corner, you'll find I take a lot of little jewelry boxes I found at estate sales. Binocular cases without the binoculars make terrific storage units, and you can put journals in them. This is a little sewing machine drawer that I have some of the things I reach for the most next to my desk in. And then, of course, you see tins, which is a reoccurring theme, and a couple ledger books that I actually found at, I think, some flea markets and resale, like antique shops. And this is my little wooden desk that I found online. But I would say estate sales, many, many estate sales have desks. Almost every house has a desk. And if it's an older estate sale, oftentimes you'll get the kinds with nooks and crannies for a really good price. As we move over here, we're going to look at what used to be called a telephone table, where you would put your telephone on the top and the phone books underneath. But I'm using it to store my books and my scanner on. And most of these books have come from estate sales. The ones with stickers on the spine have come from online resellers like thrift books, but the ones without stickers are generally things that I have found at estate sales. And as you can see, there's a pretty big stack. And then that big, big Mama Jamma book we saw in last month's Tea With Me. And as we move over here, this little piece I found at an estate sale, and you're going to start seeing in this unit lots and lots of drawers, little drawers and sewing machine drawers stacked on top of each other that I use to organize a lot of my things, especially my smaller books. And again, just more of the books that I have found at estate sales. I am an absolute sucker for them. I cannot refuse an estate sale that when I look at the preview album, I see big bookcases. I have to go and look for big, beautiful books. And I think most books are at estate sales between $1 and $3, so it's always a pretty good deal. Again, with the stacking drawers and candles, and I put all sorts of things on them. I just absolutely love finding old drawers. And these particular drawers were in the basement in a workshop. They were dirty and they were filled with tools. You just really need to use your imagination. And then this piece here is the top of an old blanket box, and it was in the back woodshed with a bunch of old scrap wood. And I just love it. It makes my workroom, I don't know, it almost feels like a mantle to me, and I just love the simplicity of the wood. And I've put some grapevines from out back on it, and my, you know, a word from a dear friend on there. And again, more drawers standing on end, organizing books and threads and stuff. So that's my workroom and some of the things that I found at estate sales for this space. Tins, books, drawers, and things to organize all the little doodads that are on my desk, and just decorations. So let's head to the basement. So here we are in my stacks of books to sell. These are everything from music books to children's books, little golden books, novels, you name it. I have scads of books to sell, hopefully at some point in my shop, which I'm hoping this summer. And then I have tons and tons of magazines, because when you go to estate sales and you find vintage magazines, it's usually in a big box, and they don't want you to buy one, they want you to buy the whole box. So I have stacks of old magazines which have terrific graphics and advertising in them, and again, hoping at some point to be able to sell those as well. Okay, so now you're going to see all the things I've bought at estate sales that I'm not keeping for me, that I'm hoping at some point to put in my shop for you guys. I have Christmas galore. I have these cool slide organizational pieces that have little drawers in them, and I just thought they were the coolest thing in the world. They close, and I thought, oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun to keep embellishments in. I have baskets of old letters and envelopes, and then I have a collection of small tins that I envision putting ephemera in and sewing notions and such. Some more old drawers, you know, that's kind of my thing, right? And then I have things, everything from buttons, lots and lots of sewing notions, lots and lots of buttons, lots of vintage sewing materials that I'd love to put together in little sewing kits and offer for sale as well. Again, all found at estate sales as well. Beautiful matches. Sometimes I find the most beautiful matchboxes. They were little works of art, and I'd love to share some of those as well. And all of these things were found in drawers and boxes and basements of estate sales, and were really not that much money because they're just little things. This is my other stash of books. These books are books that I think would make amazing journals. I haven't decided whether I'm going to use them or pass them along, but I have them separated because they're really, really cool books. And then I go on to my textiles. I have drawers of textiles that I have laundered and put together by type, like hankies and lace doilies and table runners and all sorts of things that I would love to put together. I have all these ideas, and I just don't ever have time to get it all done. But again, all of this has been pretty much acquired through estate sales. I will say the saris have not, that those have come from other sources. I have not come across any of that kind of material at estate sales, but you know. So paper is a estate sale staple. Every house has paper. If it's a new house, it might be newer paper like resume paper or printer paper, but older houses might have like these old calendars and rolls of paper, and sometimes you'll even get cardboard and other materials that we use in junk journaling. But almost every house has a stash of paper in the office. So, you know, if nothing else, to get inexpensive paper, it's a great source. I got these lunch sacks, which are probably 20 years old, and I love the patterns on them. Filene's Basement is a New England tradition, and that store hasn't been around for a long time, so that tells you how old it is. And again, look at, these are all game pieces and envelopes and paper that I found at estate sales. Oh, old napkins. You can get tons of napkins that are open packages that we can use for decoupage, and no one's going to buy a thing of open napkins. And look at all these tins, people. I have the plans to fill these tins with ephemera and sell them online. Just haven't gotten to it yet. And of course, more books. My name is Michelle, and I am a bookaholic. And then cards, playing cards. Estate sales always have playing cards. Everybody has a couple decks of playing cards in their junk drawers. They're always at estate sales. And depending on the age of the house is how vintage the cards you're going to find are. And I have found some pretty amazing vintage cards. And usually a single deck is like $1. And sometimes if it's a bridge set, it'll be a couple bucks. Something special like this, I think I might have paid $3, but really I'm not sure. Because if you bundle things, you're not really paying per item. You're paying more for like a bag of goodies or a box of goodies. So you don't really ever really know what you're paying for these. And they can range from casino cards like this, which are pretty standard, all the way to beautiful vintage cards. Here are more slide boxes that I found with the little brass feet and these great latches. And I don't know if it's celluloid or plastic drawers with brass fittings. And you put your slides in there and you stored them and took them to your friend's house to show off your vacation. But nobody uses slides anymore. So these relics were really, you know, a fun find at an estate sale and would be great for embellishments. And then you find random things like this bag of wooden circles that I can make my own bottle caps from. And then I have a little circus stash because I'm a circus-aholic. And back in the back is that lampshade you might all recognize from a couple videos ago. So here's a few little pictures, a little slideshow of some estate sales I've been to that I love to document where I go, and I take pictures at all of them because I find them so much fun. This was one of my favorite ones. Found so many great things here. This one last summer was a gallery, and the gallery represented so many artists, and they had a big collection of artwork, and I found really interesting things here. You never know what you're going to find. And they were selling artwork and greeting cards and even easels, canvases. They had a lot of wonderful display pieces, lamps, oriental rugs. You can see the drawers in the upper right-hand corner. That was actually the drawers that you saw in my workroom. And this is where I found them, in a little artist nook. And here are some of the bookcases where I found some of my books. This is what they call in the wild. So this is where I find my books in the wild, or the little things that I find in the corners of rooms that come home with me, and you say to your friends, oh, I found this book in the wild, or this stack of magazines in the wild. Means they're not in an antique store, they're not in a flea market, they are literally just waiting for you to buy them from somebody's house. Somebody collected them over the years. They're bird books, they're field guides, their children's books, their maps, and now they're ready to move on to their new home or their new use to be used in junk journals. And always go in the basement, always look through the tools, because that's where I find some of the best tins in my collection. Men love to use tins, especially food tins, for their nuts and bolts, and you just have to be able to be patient and pick. This one was a paper crafter, and boy did I have fun going through all the things that this woman was selling, and these are some of the things I walked away with. And although I'm not a big collectibles person, I do love to look through vintage porcelain collectibles, and I just find them really pretty, and I love to take pictures of them, and occasionally I will go home with something if it's special. Here are a few things I didn't buy. One of my favorite toys from my childhood, which was really hard to walk away from, but just having the picture makes me happy, and playing with it for a few minutes was like going down memory lane. I found a cake dish that was the exact same cake dish my grandmother had in her kitchen, that she always had special things for us, like chocolate cake or cupcakes or brownies for us. So that was fun. And this tin reminds me a lot of my son because we call him Dill. So, you know, sometimes just being at the estate sale is such a treat, seeing things, even if you don't go home with them. And I love a good hunt. A back work shed like this is where I found the blanket box cover. I'm not afraid to get in there and look around. And if you look at the marks here, you'll see where my workroom shelving came from. The drawers were in this picture in the photo album, and I circled them, and I knew exactly where to find them. It's estate sale day, so let's go behind the scenes and see what an estate sale looks like. The first thing is you can notice everything's outside of the cabinets and put on the countertops for you to see by room. And, you know, if you're going to be in a modern house like this one, you're going to see a lot of modern things. If you're in an older home, you might see more vintage items. But you can buy things that you need for your home, pots and pans and dishes and things like that. And this particular sale, I believe the couple is downsizing, so there's a lot of modern things. This is not an older home, and these are not older items. So this is a great type of opportunity for young people getting an apartment or their first home, or a young couple who just is starting out. You can get patio furniture, gas grills, furniture for your home, housewares. I always see art, lots and lots of art, lots of things to hang on your wall. This particular sale has lots of designer clothes and suits, which is terrific. I don't always see this, especially the amount of shoes and purses, but you know, that's what makes estate sales great. They're all different. And who would have thought it, but people go to estate sales to buy cleaning solutions and lawn care, all sorts of stuff. You often find things that were bought and never used, and sometimes it's just that special tropical shirt for a, you know, fun party. We're going to head upstairs. I think part of the fun of estate sales is being in a new home and looking at the floor plans. I love looking at all the furniture and things available. Everything from beautiful furniture to house linens. You know, holidays, it's nice to be able to get tablecloths for different holidays, decorations for your home, artwork, lamps. These are pretty standard things at all estate sales. And as you can see, it's all ready to go. All unpacked, all ready for you to find. In the basement, exercise equipment, very standard. Holiday, nativity scenes and Christmas trees and decorator wreaths. Almost every estate sale I've been to has holiday decorations. books, of course, furniture, plants. Did you ever think about this? Almost every estate sale I've been at, plants are for sale. And look what I'm gonna find. A deck of cards for my card collection. Yay! So here we are. This is what an estate sale looks like. It is oftentimes very fun and friendly, and here we go. These are the people waiting in line to be the first through the door. Everyone's excited to be there. I hope I see you at an estate sale, and I hope you enjoy this little behind the scenes view. And here are a few things I found at this estate sale. I found a food mill for making sauces and jams from my garden, that deck of cards, and a couple candles. Not my biggest take, but I still had so much fun. I always have fun at estate sales. So that's tea with me for April. I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you will find an estate sale to go to soon. And if you find any treasures, I hope you'll share them with me, tag me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.